Hey! So I was on vacation and missed out on a few movies. Luckily, I was able to watch some things on my flights that I've been meaning to check out. Then I got back home and I caught up on some stuff, and I've just been filling up on all this movie fiber that I need to get out. This seems like a perfect case for a movie dump. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Indy is back in action when the daughter of an old friend gets him involved in chasing after a Maguffin that might actually help the Nazis win World War II. Indy's an old guy now. He's retired. He's not looking for any adventures, but adventure just seems to find him anyway. As far as an Indiana Jones movie goes, this fit the expectations for me. Is it as good as Raiders of the Lost Ark or Temple of Doom? No, but it still has that vibe to it, you know? I want to see Indiana Jones on a mystery action adventure where he can punch some Nazis. And we get that. The Fleabag herself was a great addition to the franchise as Indy's goddaughter. She's got that sassy, smart spark that we all love to see. This is directed by James Mangold, and he's a very good director. And he gave us a legit action adventure that fits in nicely with the rest of the Indiana Jones lore. I do think that the first 20 to 30 minutes was the best part of the movie. Then from there, it's just consistently entertaining. Although I did feel a bit of a slowdown about an hour and a half into it, but it didn't take long for it to pick back up. Assuming that this is the last one, I think it was a good send-off that Steven Spielberg and George Lucas can both be proud of. I don't want to get too nitpicky here because de-aging technology has gotten so good, but they were kind of asking for it. You have a de-aged, young-ass Indy whose face is right in the center of the screen, and it looks good, okay? But then you got a Nazi shining a flashlight in his face, and he's like, ugh, 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 making weird Harrison Ford faces, and you could see it just wasn't quite doing it. Other than that, it looked great though, okay? Hypnotic! Wow! This is a bad one. Bad in like a funny way though, it's still watchable. Ben Affleck is like a, I don't know, detective. He's haunted by the kidnapping of his daughter a few years ago, and he gets pulled into this world of super hypnosis. And it gets pretty hilarious from there. They had me for a bit. I'd say there was a solid 20 minutes I was really into it. And then they started the hypnosis twist. And then another hypnosis twist. And another twist. And another twist. Twist, 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 twist. You know how most movies that have a big twist, there's one, maybe two. I think this one had like 50 twists. You know, because there's so many people out there that can hypnotize others, hypnotics. And then you've got the hypnotics that hypnotize regular people as well as other hypnotists. There's just so many hypnotics going on that you don't know what's going on. And when I say twists, I mean little things like a guy's holding a gun, and the hypnotic is like, how do you plan on shooting me with that Sharpie? Whoa! There's like a million of those. So if they didn't have as many, I'd say the big twist in the end would be really cool. But at that point, I had laughed so much that I just couldn't take anything seriously. Do you think you're watching a YouTube video right now? Because you're actually watching an episode of The Teletubbies. Hypnotic! Extraction 2! Oh man, this is just awesome. Chris Hemsworth, the extractor, he's back to extract. This time he's extracting a family from a prison because their patriarch drug lord likes to keep his family close. So close that he would just like to have his family in prison with him. So not only does Chris Hemsworth, the extractor, have this threat inside the prison, he has the drug lord's brother with the entire cartel outside of the prison waiting for him. Action-wise, this is top tier. Some of the best action that you can get. It's well choreographed, it's violent, it's thrilling. There are so many impressive long takes. There's one action scene that's on top of a high-rise building where they use heights to heighten the suspense. And boy, did it work. I was white-knuckling it that whole scene. I would almost say that it was better than the first one, if it wasn't for this fucking character. For some reason, they decided to use an indecisive teenager as a way to push the conflict to keep the story progressing. And I just couldn't stand him. Oh, I don't know what to do. Do I stand with my evil father that's been beating me and my family in prison for a year? Or do I protect my mother and my younger sister who have never done anything wrong? Meanwhile, you've got dozens of people on both sides dying off because this fucking teenager has mixed feelings. No thanks. There's better ways to trigger conflict in a story. I don't want everything hinging on a goddamn stupid teenager. Other than that, it's an absolute banger of an action flick. It's better than almost anything else on Netflix. I mean, look at this. Awesome! The Fabelmans! This is a Steven Spielberg movie that's basically about his own life and growing up, and how he was inspired to make movies and his love of cinema. Okay, I appreciate what this is, and I do believe that one of the greatest directors of all time can make whatever he wants. But this just really wasn't for me. I think it's like a 2 hour and 20 minute movie, and the entire time I was like this.
Two hours later.
I think that a story specific as this is more for the Spielbergs and the upcoming generations of Spielbergs so that they understand where their enormous wealth comes from. There wasn't much here that was that extraordinary. It was a kid with this drive and the talent to get there, surrounded by a family with relatively normal problems. Oh, Steven Spielberg gets bullied in school? Okay. Oh, Steven Spielberg's parents have marital issues? Oh. Okay. Oh, Steven Spielberg had to move away from his friends? Huh. Okay. I don't believe that this is a love letter to cinema by any means. It's a really well-made, really well-acted telling of Steven Spielberg's youth, told by the man himself. He's 76. He was probably sitting around like, hey, why hasn't anyone made a movie about me yet? I guess I'll do it. Honestly, where this story leaves off, I'm more interested in seeing what happened after that. I don't think this is much of a spoiler because it's like the life of Steven Spielberg, right? This thing ends with him getting into Hollywood. Give me a Steven Spielberg-driven story about when he made Jaws, or when he made E.T., or when he made Jurassic Park. I would love to see the process of making those movies from his perspective. I'd love that. If they made that into a sequel, I'd happily watch it. You can call it Fabelmans 2. The Rise of Spielberg. Side note, this dude's eyeballs freaked me out the entire time. Operation Fortune! From the opening shot of this flick, I was in. And then the dialogue starts. And it's like, I'm fucking in. I am in. This is a Guy Ritchie movie, folks. That means fast, fun, witty dialogue and characters that you just grow to love. This one's about a contracted team by the British government led by Carrie Ellis. He's got a weird last name, huh? And his orders are carried out by Jason Statham, who's kind of the actual leader of this team. Their mission is to try and intercept this deal where some bad people are trying to sell a MacGuffin to some other bad people. They want to squeeze right in between. I'll say the first 30-40 minutes were a little rough around the edges when it came to shaping of the plot and getting the team together. But as it all plays out and then comes together at the end, I had an absolute blast. I can never get enough of Guy Ritchie dialogue and his characters interacting together. The best parts of his movies are when characters are just talking to each other. And I think that says a lot. Jason Statham is his usual great self, Aubrey Plaza, she's hilarious. But the standout characters here are Hugh Grant, a ruthless, elusive billionaire arms dealer, and the actor that he's obsessed with, Josh Hartnett. Their chemistry together and their bromance made me laugh hysterically. Anyway, stick around for the post-credit scene. That's what made me laugh the hardest. I laughed so fucking hard during that scene. It was really embarrassing. The Flash and Flashpoint Paradox? Okay, so I didn't love The Flash. It had some parts that were absolutely awesome, but the story is kind of a mess. Basically, this takes the idea of Flashpoint Paradox and it cuts out the best shit. And then it replaces the best shit with nostalgia and silliness and really deep cut fan service. Some of that works really well. Most of it does not. Barry Allen discovers he can use the Speed Force to move so fast that he can change events in time. As you know, the Flash's mom died when he was a child, right? Right? You know that? So he decides to save his mother and break time. So he gets bounced into another timeline where his 18-year-old self exists and his mother is alive. So then he partners up with himself and Michael Keaton Batman to save that timeline from General Zod from the Man of Steel movie. Okay? The way that that story plays out didn't do what I hoped that it would. The lesson learned by the end didn't sit right with me. I absolutely love the action. I absolutely love 89 Batman, and I really loved Kara Zor-El. But I thought that the story was lacking, and it was too fucking silly. 18-year-old Barry is a moron, and it drove me nuts. So the result of the Flash saving his mother's life equals his mother being alive, but also him being a complete total moron. I understand if you're gonna have two Barrys, they gotta be different. Totally get it. But one of them doesn't have to be a complete idiot. Back to the silliness, I'm not sure why it bothers me so much, but the movie opens on a joke and ends on a joke. That's too silly. I know that I'm late to the game on The Flash, and I avoided as many spoilers as I could. But I did hear a lot of rumblings about how shitty the CGI is. Yeah, I agree. Doesn't look great. It looks like it's not done yet. Unpolished, if you will. There's a scene in the beginning of the movie with a lot of babies. A lot of babies. And those babies look terrible. Now, Flashpoint Paradox, on the other hand, way better story, just no Michael Keaton. This starts out roughly the same, where the Flash decides to save his mother, but instead he wakes up in this new reality that he created, and he's the only Flash. He's the only Barry Allen. There's no other Barry Allen to bounce jokes off of. So in this reality, because his mother lives, he never goes through the circumstance of becoming the Flash. So as a result, he has no powers, and this world without a Flash in it is totally fucked. So just by removing him from the history of the world, it shows you how important his character was in the DC universe. They make the point that the existence of the Flash ultimately makes the world a better place, so that the sacrifice of his mother is meaningful. Also in Flashpoint Paradox, because no Flash, butterfly effect, there's a war between the Amazonian women and Atlantis, and that's because Aquaman was banging it out with Wonder Woman, cheating on his wife, and Wonder Woman kills his wife. And because Wonder Woman killed the Queen of Atlantis, this sparks all-out war. And this is such a huge war that it is shaking the foundation of reality. And then you got Batman, who partners up with the Flash. Not Bruce Wayne Batman, though. Thomas Wayne Batman. In this timeline, Bruce was the one that died in the alleyway with his parents. This made Thomas Wayne, his dad, turn into Batman, but he's like a ruthless killer Batman. And then Bruce Wayne's mother, Martha, this drove her so crazy that she became the Joker. Oh, that's a way cooler world and story than what we got in The Flash. In conclusion, I really liked parts of The Flash, but the story isn't nearly as good as Flashpoint Paradox. I think you should just watch that if you want a good Flash story. Or if you can make the time, just watch them back to back, like I did. I actually think that they pair quite well together. Woo! That was a good old dump. I think I'm pretty much caught up on movies now. If I missed anything when I was on vacation, I'm sure we'll end up in a movie dump later on. Because if there's one thing about me, I love taking dumps. See ya! Subscribe! So this is one of the movies I was watching on a flight. And I laugh out loud when I laugh. There were some things in this that made me laugh so hard I didn't know what to do with myself. I'm sitting there like...